Okay, so I did make the mistake last time of not having my mic on. Oh, am I close enough? Can you hear me? I hope you can. Because this is about as close as I can get to my mic. Anyway, I didn't make the mistake last time. So I took like 2 months off. At least that is my excuse. Took like 2 months off to try and forget um, what happened because my mic wasn't on, so I want to try and get as genuine as possible. So we're going to be doing, we're going to be playing Cupid, which is a visual novel if you're new here. And we're going to be doing chapter 2, La Piqûre, I think. La Piqûre, maybe? Probably. It's funny, is it not? They always leave you. Such is the way of the world. The more you love, the more you lose. Oh, it seems like they'll stay forever, but they never do. I'm the only one who stays, my lovely rose. My love is the only love you need. You were always so weak. Always so loving to people who did not deserve it. I told you to get rid of her, didn't I? I told you to be wary. I knew it from the start, my rose. Okay, so this is, if you're new here, you should watch the first episode. It's a bit of a mess, but... So, I'm trying to go for a nicer mother, apparently. She's just mean. So, she led you astray. Catherine was a curse. She drove you to a love I warned you about. I knew she would just cause you pain. We're not going to be glad that she's dead. I'm glad you are back to me. I was so worried about you, darling. She almost led you astray. Away from me. Trust in mother, darling. I am just glad to have you back to myself. Your silence bothers me, child. She was important to me, mother. I loved her. Mother only laughed at Rosa as Rosa screamed out her pain. Rosa felt strong arms shake her awake. Rosa. I forgot what voice I had for him, so we're just going to restart with all the voices. She opened her eyes and was hit by a strange sadness that crushed her. She was dazed for a moment. Why was she so sad? And then she remembered. Her best friend was gone. She was gone. Rosa. How are you feeling? Gillamy sat by her bed, a hand in hers. Rosa didn't realize she had been holding on to it tightly in her fitful sleep. She broke from his grasp and clutched her knees. Rosa? She remained silent. I came to check on you. You went into shock and lost consciousness. I can only imagine how hard it must have been for you to see her look like that. His words echoed in her brain, yet she did not register much of their meaning. Rosa still refused to speak, and Gillamy fidgeted with his glove. The wake will take place as soon as possible, Rosa. I just wanted to let you know that she is being taken care of. He's hiding something. There was a slight triumph in Mother's voice. He wants to get rid of her body as soon as possible. Don't you see it, child? Tell me you're not falling for this." Rosa was tired. It was unsurprising to hear Mother say such things. She hated anyone who came close to Rosa's heart. Rosa didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to deal with anything right now. All she wanted to do was wallow in her loneliness, to curl up inside the hole Catherine had left behind and sleep. "My child, tell me you see it." Ooh. Remember the fear in Catherine's eyes in her last days. Ooh. You have seen it, haven't you? She was mostly hostile, but sometimes when her sanity returned, she was afraid. Afraid of this man. How well do you even know him, child? I've known him for as long as I knew Catherine, Mother. He is a close friend. I didn't ask how long you've known him, but how well. Beyond the mask that he displays in public view, do you even know his past? Do you even know any of his ambitions or secrets? He was always a private man, Mother. Think back, child. Isn't it curious how all his past relationships have ended in disaster? Everything he touches crumbles. That is not enough to accuse him of anything. You idiots! He is different. He does not belong. You have felt it too, haven't you? Rosa looked at Guillaume with new eyes now. A hint of doubt slithered out beneath her sadness. Rosa wanted something to blame, a cask for all her regrets. Guillaume seemed like the perfect candidate, didn't he? Yes, you're finally seeing it. Open your eyes, child. It made sense. Guillaume and Catherine's relationship began to peter off into coldness right before she died. Her mental instability only served to compound this fracture in their relationship. Perhaps Guillaume was tired of her and had her killed off for convenience. Or perhaps Catherine, in her psychotic state, killed herself to spite him. Rosa, are you okay? You've been mumbling. Rosa stared at the man beside her. He is not to be trusted, child. He is a demon. Guillaume returned Rosa's angry stare with a resolute look. I know you must hate me, Rosa. I am aware that I only aggravated Catherine's condition with my presence. I know the feeling when I am not wanted. He stood up, a hard yet kind look on his face. Just remember that I will always be here for you. As much as I was there for Catherine, even though she spat me out. Rosa bit her lip. When Catherine had refused to eat, it had been Guillaume who fed her and attended to her. Despite Catherine hurling abuse at him, he had tried to care for the sick woman himself. Lies, all lies, keeping up appearances. Then what is it that he has done, Mother? Catherine committed suicide. It is not by his hand that she died. Are you just going to leave it at that? Look at his face and tell me you trust him wholeheartedly. Rosa tried to search for the answer in Guillaume's eyes, but as always, his face betrayed only few emotions. I don't know. Mother was screaming now. He killed her! I am sure he did, and you're letting him get away with it. Please, my head hurts. And you say you loved her. You never loved her, you selfish child. I've always known you were this selfish. Stop! You throw people away. Didn't you throw me away when I inconvenienced you? Admit it. You were secretly relieved I died. Dang. Why is it white, though? Like, what does that mean? No, stop it! She screamed back at the last voice. Her mouth quivered. Gilliamy stared at Rosa in shock. The outburst had accidentally came out aloud. He pulled a plug that kept the tears from pouring out. Now her vision clouded and she blinked them away again and again. She was not sobbing. She did not even realize her face was wet. Gilliamy and Rosa stared at each other, both kindred in their sorrow. He knelt down by Rosa's bed and wiped her tears with his hand. He did not say anything while doing this, and Rosa stared blankly ahead. It almost stunned her how many tears in a person's It almost stunned her how many tears a person's eyes could carry. Sorry. I loved her too, Rosa. He said it after a while. I know what you're feeling. She didn't know if it was her own or if Mother's anger influenced her, but her chest heaved. She balled up her fists so tightly that her fingernails hurt. Shut up, she spat, and the man recoiled at the uncharacteristic bitterness of her words. Catherine was afraid of you in her last days. You did something to her. I know you did. Oh, well, I know it. She could feel Mother inside her head, building up her anger. He has to be punished. You are to blame. He has to atone. I know you are guilty. He must pay. Gilliamy stared at her, dumbfounded for a few seconds. But the man didn't try to appease her. He only stepped closer to Rosa, wrapping his arms around the hysterical girl. Let go of me. I hate you. Let me go. But Gilliamy didn't. If you need something to hate, then I'll accept your hate. But you must accept my comfort too. I need you too, right now, Rosa. You are the only one who loved her as much as I did. Gillamy's words brought back Catherine in Rosa's mind. Almost at once, the anger was replaced with a sadness so heavy she couldn't breathe. Why was she so angry again? She was focusing on anger instead of pain. It was easier. The real tears came, all for the lost girl they both loved. Tomorrow was not going to come. It was only right now, the loss and two friends mourning a loved one. Rosa cried until she thought she wouldn't be able to stop, and Gilliamy quietly held her. Slowly her weeping began to subside into sobs, and only then did he speak again. Stay in the chateau, Rosa. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Sorry, hold on. I forgot that I turned my notifications back on. And that's gonna bug me for my Discord. We'll just turn that off real quick. Oh. Sorry, I was trying to read the conversation. Anyway, back to what I was doing. Stay at the chateau, Rosa. I know you are thinking of leaving now that Catherine is gone. But I can't let you wander the streets alone. Again, whoops, I don't know if I read that right. I will take care of you. It's what Catherine would have wanted. Like a spell being broken, those words brought back her anger. How could you possibly know what Catherine wants? She pushed his arms away from her. She's dead. Gillamy's mouth pursed and he stepped away. I want you to go. Please leave me. Gillamy sighed and closed his eyes. I understand. He turned on his heels and left without another word. Hours seemed like minutes to her. She would fall asleep and awake in unfit intervals so often that she had lost the exact time. Awake, she would stare at a part of the wall with no coherent thoughts forming in her mind. One would think mourning was an activity spent in depressive frenzy. All the reasons to grieve are yours, after all. She could wail now if she wanted. She could pull on her hair, curse the skies. She could reminisce the past, admire the frailty of human lives. Unfortunately, it was something less poetic. Pain was simple. It was clean. It was a well-sharpened knife that sliced through the heart in one stroke. No blood, no mess. Empty. When tears were spent, when you have exhausted your grief, in place of pain, there would be nothing. The pain might call out, grating, nagging, constantly picking at fresh wounds, but as time passed, the hole would get bigger, darker, deeper. Soon there would be nothing left. Soon it would be hard to find where the hollowness ended and where you began. Rosa slept all day. The sun had gone down twice before she shifted from her bed and stood up slowly, deliberately, with a purpose. My child, you know I hurt when you are hurt. Already a surge of power flowed within her, fueled by her grief. The power filled her up, and there was so much emptiness inside that the energy saturated her whole body. Purpose was always a balm for grief. Mother, tell me what to do. Justice or retribution? Justice? I don't really know what retribution means, so we'll just roll with justice. That was probably the wrong choice. Oh, sorry about that. Start with his guilt, child. Then deliver punishment fitting for one so vile. He cannot get away with this. Rosa didn't speak, but she started to form the words in her mind, feeling them in her bones, giving life to every thought. She took a small knife and carved a symbol on her floor. She didn't need much. It didn't need much, a guilt spell. It didn't aim to punish. It only aimed to inform. She needed to know how much guilt the man carried, and the source of such guilt. If the guilt was concrete and came from a direct action, then she would know Gillamy did something to Catherine. It had been a while since she had used magic. It used to be the only way she could protect herself from the world. Mother had taught her, and now Mother guided her as she cast her spell. She needed a possession of the man. Rosa opted for his voice, still fresh from memory. She focused on the last conversation they shared. If you need something to hate, I will take care of you. I need you. His words made Rosa feel distressed and confused. Always, it was this way with him. The feeling wasn't foreign. It had been there for years. I will always be here for you. Hui. Oh, I hate that freaking flashy stuff. Rosa felt a violent force upturn her stomach, and it was that horrid lurch just before vomiting. You failed! The spell collapsed in her brain. Focus, idiot child, or you'll lose your chance. Rosa tried again. This time, she focused on Gillamy's eyes. Cold, like flints of steel, dark and fathomless. No grief except perhaps for the situation. No Catherine. No pain of loss. This didn't matter to her. The relationship was dying anyway. Where was his guilt? Rosa dug deeper. She increased the chanting on her lips. No torment. No uncertainty. No guilt. Did the spell fail again? She searched once more and found nothing. There was no guilt in Guillemy's eyes. She could stop the spell now, knowing that he was innocent. If the spell had worked, then Guillemy was blameless. But this absence was most distressing. Rosa desperately pushed her mind further, almost wishing there were traces hiding beyond her reach. Guilt should be present in any loss, no matter how little. Don't we blame ourselves for our own loss? Don't we hate ourselves and punish ourselves even if it wasn't our fault? It didn't have to be real, but we need guilt to feel pain. But Guillemy didn't have a sliver of guilt. The vicious pain took hold of her again, squeezing her stomach with murderous intent. The pain was so great Rosa wasn't sure if the spell had failed or succeeded. Something is wrong. Before Rosa could agree with Mother, she felt a sharp pain in her throat. Rosa clutched her neck, a sharp, jagged lump blocking her breathing. It crawled up her windpipe, tearing the soft walls as it moved about. Rosa fell to her knees and gagged. Huge drops of blood-spotted spit ran down her chin. Mother remained calm, unaffected by Rosa's distress. Finally, she opened her mouth and forced the vile thing out. She kept her eyes shut, afraid to look at whatever had come out of her. But the choking feeling gripped her, and she puked again. The liquid dripping down her mouth thickened and coagulated. Congealed? I don't think I've seen that word. It wasn't spit anymore, but blood. Rosa panted. The gruesome effect had finally stopped. Something on the floor reflected light. She reached out with her hand, and the prick of something sharp made her recoil. Rosa picked them up with shaking hands. Needles. In her palm were a handful of long metal needles. She had regurgitated them along with blood and jagged pieces of flesh. Rosa examined them with a horrified kind of curiosity. She stuck one in her thumb and it drew more blood. They were real. They had materialized in her throat while casting the spell on Guillemy. Rosa wiped her mouth. There was something wrong with him. Something potent and dark. Or could it be that she had botched the spell horribly? She had pushed her limits this time. She had gone too far. But still, a tugging concern was forming. It was as real as the metal needles in her hand. Rosa tried to stand up on her feet, but she was exhausted. Her knees failed her, and she crumbled on the floor like a rag. I knew it. You must get to the bottom of this. Oh, I thought it chose. Okay, I don't know what I did there, but I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. That man. We must find out how to destroy him. Rosa stared at the needles in her hand. Who are you really, Guillemy? I think my air kicked on, so you can probably hear it. Sorry about that. Well, chapter 3. Sorry, I didn't read that. I'm debating whether to. I mean, we can keep going. We'll keep going. Just because I'm kind of on a roll now. Anyway, just to recap what happened. Catherine's dead. Catherine was kind of her friend, I guess. I think there's a huge time skip between 1 and 2. Because we don't really understand what happened there, except that Guilherme and Catherine had some sort of relationship, probably romantic, which, if that's the case, like, that's a huge age gap. But they never explicitly said that it was romantic. Seems like Rosa's still into Guilherme, and Guilherme's got something dark about him. Some sort of wicked protection magic on him or something. Also, Rosa, can use magic. Yeah, that's pretty much where we are. She just, well, I mean, if you're still watching, but if you came back to see chapter 3, then, Rosa just vomited up needles after trying to figure out, how guilty Guilherme was feeling, which was exactly none, which is on its own strange. On to chapter 3, which I don't, remember the name of, but you saw it, I'm sure. Rosa entered the room with a tray of pastries and a pot of tea. Her duties were finished, and she was allowed a bit of free time. She thought of accompanying Catherine for today's piano lesson. Kath? I'm sorry, wait. Oh, was that a time jump? Okay, wait, so the way that I think chapter 2 worked is that we started at the end. So chapter 1 was like the beginning, and then chapter 2 was like the end, and now we're going back to just right after the beginning, where Catherine works in the chateau, I guess. And no, Catherine is taking piano lessons, and Guilherme is like her sponsor or something. And Rosa works in the chateau and is living with Catherine, I believe. Kath, do you want some tea? The girl didn't look her way. She continued to churn out the bitter, melancholic sound from her piano. Rosa sighed. Her shoulders slumped in defeat. She placed the food on the table. She sat on the stool beside the piano, twiddling her thumbs while her friend continued to stew in her foul mood. Is that a new composition? It sounds nice. Nowadays you make a new piece every day. It's a shame they're all so sad. Catherine didn't reply to that, but when she spoke again, her words were bitter. Oh, I saw them again, those degenerate louts. No shame at all. Kath, at least have the decency to close the door. Ooh, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Sometimes I think they want to get caught. I know she had like a much more like youthful voice when I first voiced her in chapter 1, but like I don't know how to get there again. Let me try. When I walked in on them this morning, eating each other's faces, they had this look on them. Like they were daring me to say something. What? Do they want my applause? Very nice technique, sire. Is it sire or sir? It's sire, probably? That's how you spell sire, I think. I'd very much like the way you swap your spit with my sister. Great tongue action. Tu me voulu? Tu me voulu. Maybe. I'm so sorry if you actually know how to speak French and you hear my pronunciations. Feel free to correct me. Gently. Correct me gently. Ma voulu? Sorry. See, I knew it. You see, okay, so in chapter 1, I know they're far apart, but I don't know, I'm like pulling them out of my memory. You probably watched them all in a row. Um, her sister, whose name I forgot, Catherine's sister, Catherine being this girl, um, was like kind of into Guillermo, but I feel like she was engaged at the time, and I guess now they're having an affair. Guillermo's also like a playboy bachelor or something like that. He like has one girl for once and then like dumps them or they always break up with him, something like that, something like that. Oh, and Rosa's still into him, by the way. Oof, but I guess Catherine's maybe into him. I don't know. Now I'm a little interested. I'm even more interested. And he even has the gall to speak to me. Be a dear and put them on the table, Catherine. He even said, ugh. He wanted me to get annoyed. I just know it. Well, I'm trying not to cuss, okay? Okay. Well, I sure as hell am. Obviously, if you're looking at the screen, you know it does not say that. Catherine turned to the tea and pastries, stuffing the buttered bread in her mouth. Easy there. These damn things. These damn delicious things. She said the last part angrily, as if she blamed her troubles on the food's relish. Rosa giggled in spite of herself. Catherine wiped her mouth in mock anger. What are you laughing at, wench? It's comical to watch you eat when you're angry, Kath. You're like the giant monster that attack. Okay. You're like the giant monsters that attack defenseless towns in horror books. Oh, yes? Catherine made sad tiny squeals as she picked up another piece of bread. No, no, please spare us. She adjusted her voice and boomed out a roar. The Catherinian monster of the deep doesn't show mercy to anyone. She dropped it in her mouth and chewed savagely. Yum! Annihilation is delicious with tea. The two girls giggled. Catherine's rare smile turned into a rueful laugh. Rueful laugh. I don't know what that means. Soon Rosa felt her mood turning somber again. What happened anyway? Aren't you annoyed by it too? Sister has changed ever since she started staying at the chateau. Now it's all gilling me this, gilling me that. As if she wasn't already married. Ugh! Oh, so she did get married at this point. Oh! Oh! An affair. Scandalous. She doesn't even care that people are talking behind her back. Who's her husband? They're calling her a two-timing slut now. I'm tired of running around picking fights with gossipers. Catherine would. She shouldn't have to do that. I mean, she just probably shouldn't do it. At this point. She hasn't even visited home for a long time. You see, that was like the whole point. Is that Catherine was like, let Rosa stay with me, please, Dad, because like my sister always out of town, always out of the house. You always out of the house because you be working. Like, let me have this friend slash adopted sister, basically. And her own sister was like, yeah, you should let her. She's so lonely or whatever, I think. And then she doesn't even visit her sister. She's just like always visiting her sister's sponsor. Like, ooh. Father misses her a lot. He always asks about her. Father had worked so hard all these years to give us a comfortable life. Now he is sick and all she cares about is that dastardly marquise. Rosa shrugged. I am a little bit annoyed. But I guess I've gotten used to it. I totally lost Rosa's voice. I had a voice for her, and now I don't know where it went. Their lives are their own lives, Kath. No matter how messy. She didn't dare divulge more than that to Catherine. But it was partially true. I like Gillamy. He's a good friend. But I love my sister. If they want to stay together, then why not fix this and have at it? But what irritates me to my damn snatch is the way they are with each other. Catherine recently found the use of expletives endearing in her speech. Rosa hoped it was phase. They're freaking miserable. Any halfwit can see that. Yes. I've told Emily, that's her sister, haha, time and again to smarten up. She's hurting a lot of people, including herself. But as if she would listen to her 16-year-old brat of a sister, I thought she was 13, my bad. Even Gillamy is depressed, I can tell. Remember when he used to come here in the piano room to have tea? Or when he would hold spontaneous picnics in the afternoon? We used to run around chasing rabbits in the garden. You ran around. Oh, whoops, that's Rosa. You ran around. We just watched you get dirty, actually. That is very true, you chumps. Back then, it used to be fun visiting the chateau. Nowadays, we barely even see him. He just stays in his bureau all day, brooding. It is something adults subject themselves to. Is it something that adults subject themselves to? Like a torture ritual? I really don't understand why two people who are clearly unhappy keep at it. Rosa did understand. At least some part of her did. She couldn't exactly explain how pain and love worked. All she knew was that it was something to do with an absurd, obsessive amount of hope. Hold on, I'm going to readjust my mic. All right. Am I clearer now? I don't know. I hope that's clearer. All right. Moving on. All she knew was that it had something to do with an obsessive amount of hope. She felt Mother tugging at her mind. She loved Mother so much. Living with the Periods gave her ample comparison to her former life. She had finally accepted that Mother was cruel. And yet, Mother still gave her love and kept her from wanting. Was that crazy? Perhaps it was the only love she needed. Perhaps it was what she deserved. Rosa shook the thoughts off her mind and just shrugged. I know you are worried about your sister, Kath. But they will figure it out. Humans have the ability to learn from their mistakes. As their loved ones, all we can really do is be patient with them and remind them we're still here. Look at you, all profound and shit. Oh, you read any smart books lately? Just the riveting account of the ugly duckling and Baa Baa Black Sheep. Ah, the classics. I don't know how you put up with the books, though. I get bored easily. In order to write, I have to learn how to read first. I want to write. Why would you want to do a dastardly thing like writing? Why would you want to hit some crazy strings until your fingers bleed? The two friends laughed again. I want to remember things. I want to write them down. But most of all, I want to feel the way you do when you play the piano, Kath. Oh? The way you look when you play, your passion and bliss in musical form. It feels like love, like magic. You inspire me to do something fulfilling and grand. Well, I'm sure you will. Hey, why not write a play one day? Oh? Let's do it. You write an amazing play, and I shall provide the music. We'll travel around the country and perform. We'll make lots and lots of money and gain lots of followers. We shall be known as the Period Parade Caravan of Wonders. Period Parade? Are you sure? Puns are the best. Trust me. That sounds darn batty, Kathy. Ugh. From this day forward, nobody is allowed to call me Kathy ever again. The sound of a knock interrupted their giggles. Catherine, it's me. I need to discuss something important with you. Frustrated, Catherine pouted at the sound of her sister's voice. She turned back to her piano and began to pound a sarcastically happy tune. Rosa stood up to open the door. Hello, Rosa. Madam? Oh, she's looking a lot darker than, like, when we first saw her. Or when we last saw her, I guess. Oops. She had seen little of the older Period sister recently, and it astounded her how old she began to look. Yeah, she'd be looking a little older. Her once radiant face looked tired and narrowed, almost crone-like. Her eyes hung huge bags. Under her eyes hung huge bags. And yet she still looked quite dignified, full of pride and pomp. There was an extra rouge on her skin, and her demeanor was elegant. It was as if pride was her only source of nourishment these days. Do you mind giving Catherine and me a moment of privacy? Rosa gave a small bow. Of course not, madam. Rosa gathered her nursery books and squeezed Catherine's shoulder before stepping out of the room. Rosa entered the quiet room of the library. She was about to approach the table when she noticed Guillaume, already occupying a seat. He was writing something in a book, somewhat immersed in the activity. Rosa stopped dead in her tracks. Leave now while he's not looking, child. Sorry. Sorry. Leave now while he's not looking, child. Or just go in and ignore him, child. Okay. Huh. I mean, leaving is kinder than ignoring him. I mean, they're both basically ignoring him, but at least one's out of sight, out of mind type stuff. What are you doing just standing there? He's going to see you. Leave now while you still have the chance. All right, Mother. Maybe you're right. Unfortunately, Guillaume lifted his head and saw her by the door. Oh. Hello, Rosa. Rosa took a step back. Maybe it was best to walk away as if this were a mistake. But wouldn't that be rude? He had already seen her after all. But she had never been alone with him. It was just too awkward. Well, why not just go in? It was going to be fine. They had conversed normally before. But that was because she would hide behind the more assertive Catherine. Now I look like an idiot. You do, actually. Guillaume watched her pace in front of the door in amusement. Rosa decided to go in. She had already embarrassed herself enough, anyway. There was little left to lose. Besides, there was nowhere else to go in this big house. What? She had gotten lost in its hallways too many times, much to the annoyance of the maitre d. Oops, my bad. Oh, it's over here. Sorry. Maitre d'? The library was her favorite place. If she stayed quietly in one corner, Rosa was sure they wouldn't bother each other. She took a seat at the furthest corner of the table and opened her book. Oh no, he's actually standing up and walking over. No, you horrible man, just sit over there while I sit over here. But Gilmy was already beside her, peeking at what she was reading. A cold sweat spread on her scalp. Rosa, what book? Rosa began to chatter nervously. I know it's a child's book, sire. I'm teaching my... I hate this voice I have. Let me go back to soft. Oh, knocking everything on my table. I know it's a child's book, sire. I'm teaching myself to read. Here we go. Where's that placement in my mouth? I know most commoners don't bother, but I want to learn. So please don't laugh or mock me. Gilmy pointed to the book. Okay. It is upside down. Oh, that's more embarrassing than what she thought was embarrassing. Rosa stared at it. The ducks in the picture had their feet up in the air. Rosa squirmed, feeling the heat on her cheeks. I'm sorry. Gilmy's face lost its cheer. What? Oh, I guess. This is a little harsher than I thought he was going to say. What do you need my forgiveness for? Rosa looked up at Gilmy. His eyes lacked the gentle glint they usually had. It was such a subtle change. Something felt rather than observed. She thought he would reprimand her further. Instead, he sat down beside her, drumming his fingers on his cheek as he watched her wordlessly. Well? Weren't you going to read? What was wrong with him today? He didn't seem like himself. Had he eaten something bad? The aura he exuded was not his usual friendly warmth. Yet it wasn't particularly wicked. The look on his face just read slightly and internally miffed. Rosa turned the book upright and read the words out loud. What? Once, that is the U with the short sound. It is pronounced like this. Gilly made the sound, his face still in his lacy stare. Rosa nodded and continued. Her nerves were frazzled, but she was actually at ease in his presence. She felt like a child being taught by a parent. The parent was strict, but still caring. And the child was jumpy, but eager to learn and please. Most of all, he would not hurt her for her mistakes. Rosa was almost sure. There lived. The past tense of live. Why do we change it? It is the rule of grammar that... Grammar? Gilmy narrowed his eyes at her. Do you even know your alphabet? Rosa shook her head. You should start there. Gilmy rose from his chair and disappeared amongst the shelves. Just leaves her. He left behind an old thick book covered in green felt. This is what he had been writing in earlier. It looked tattered and worn. The pages lay thick on its side, and the book didn't close properly. Rosa reached out to peek at the cover, then. "You are not to touch that." Rosa's whole body froze at the sound of Gillamy's warning. Gillamy's stare followed her as she whispered numerous apologies under her breath. I'm sorry. Oh, let me get closer. I'm sorry. Gillamy just rolled his eyes. Must you always ask forgiveness for everything? It is quite irritating. Jeez. I used to be like that, not gonna lie. I didn't say it to their face. Oh. Anyway, moving on. Ah. I am so... His hand struck the table in front of Rosa. Gee, you don't have to be like that angry about it, dude. In the quiet library, the sound rang uncomfortably in her ear. When she looked up, Gillamy's face was looming severely above hers. He moved closer to her, his eyes fixed on her intensely. Rosa's mouth hung open. She struggled to say something, but her wits were like the burning ends of a matchstick. Before she could compose herself, she felt Gillamy's hand lift her chin. Rosa's heart thumped loudly inside her chest. Please don't. Not you too. She felt his breath on her face, and her heart sank into despair. Why have I also felt this before? Ooh, different situations, obviously, but ooh. She shut her eye and prepared herself for the worst, like she always did when. Then she felt her face being turned from side to side. She opened her eye to see Gillamy studying her face like a textbook. You are a fairly attractive girl. Yet you carry yourself as if it is a blight. He lifted the hair that hid her damaged eye. Ooh, dude. Rosa clenched her teeth. Is it because you were hurt before? He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was stating that the sky was blue. Rosa recoiled from his touch. No! I did that to myself. I remember that. I wasn't talking about your eye. He placed a book on the table. It was a thin pamphlet filled with letters. There were lines on the book that instructed the user to trace letters with their quill. Rosa wanted to focus on it, but she could feel the truth in the Marquis's words stinging her. It was the way you went limp when I touched you. Next time, I advise you to fight back. If you don't want to be touched, then you don't have to be. Do you understand this? That's a pretty good lesson. That's you actually doing something there, dude. But I am weak. Says who? His eyes were humorless. The world cares not for people who think of themselves as victims, Rosa. This is facts. This is actual facts. If you need power, then be powerful. Push back. Fight back. Struggle. If you end up crushing things along the way, so be it. Rosa flinched under the weight of his stare. She realized that the polite and courteous Gillamy was but a facade. Facade? It was still him, but it was nothing but an oil portrait, an artwork of his devising. Synthetic, aloof, and irrelevant. It wouldn't capture his essence in a few human strokes. It couldn't capture his essence in a few human strokes. Suddenly Rosa realized he was powerful. Who are you? She caught herself before saying it aloud. You're not Gillamy. And yet, he spoke as if he knew what it was like to hurt and to fear. If you don't start acting like you own yourself, then people will not hesitate to take everything. He laid out the rest of the books he had brought out. One was an activity book for children. It had a picture of a child holding an apple with an arrow stuck in it. Another was a book of limericks. The other two were thicker books that intimidated her. She would come to know them as Hamlet and Paradise Lost. I've read Hamlet. I kind of want to read Paradise Lost, but I feel like it's so dense that I will just be very confused as to what the heck is going on. But the one that caught her eye was an ornately designed book. It had a beautiful red jacket with delicate gold trim lining the corners. The gods and goddesses of Roman mythology. Oh, cool, Roman mythology. This would be her favorite book, her treasure, and she knew it, like love at first sight. These books are yours. Take them with you. Read the thin ones first, and then gradually build your vocabulary with the thicker ones. The big books may look intimidating, but give it time. Soon your reading scope will be limitless. Rosa ran her hands over the skin of the red book. She opened the cover gingerly, as if unwrapping a present. Thank you. No thanks needed. You are still so generous, even when you are like this. Like what? That. What? Somewhat grumpy? Gillamy didn't reply, leaving an awkward silence lingering between them. Then he gave a giant laugh that made Rosa jump out of her skin. I do look like a grump, don't I? Are you okay? Is it because of Emily? Way to make him down again. Gillamy's eyes drifted away. No. I have always been like this. That's not true. You're nice and friendly, usually. Especially with Catherine and the townsfolk. That's nothing. It's easy for me to adapt to people, especially for the ones that I like. Rosa furrowed her brow. Adapt? What a strange word to use. Gillamy looked at Rosa as if he had just become aware of her presence. Makes me wonder why I'm so stern with you. You're right. I'm not usually like this. And she screwed him over a little bit there. She saw the real him and was like, this ain't you. And he's like, but it is. That's the thing about, like, crushes that you just... I'm gonna go off on a little tangent real quick. That's the thing about, like, crushes that you kind of, like, watch from a distance, that you don't really know who they are, but you develop this idea of who they are and, like, this little fantasy of what they're like based on, like, the limited knowledge that you have, and that's when they're in public too. Even when they're with you and it's just the two of you, like, that's still a little guarded most of the time for people that you've just met. But especially like her, where she just watched him from a distance a lot of the time, and they had this their first interaction together. It's like she had this preconceived idea of how he is and this illusion of what he's like. And he just showed her one of his truer colors, and she kind of rejected him for it. Kind of sucks. It's interesting, that's for sure. I'm sorry. Rosa shook her head. I somehow prefer this side of you. Oh, maybe she didn't reject him for it. I mean, she kind of low-key did, but, like... Then she brought it back. Okay. Look at that. Look at that shock on his face. And that smells cute. I find it a little interesting that he didn't question her about, like, her scarring her eye. Like, okay. I thought that was a little overboard, to be honest with you, but... Okay. Gilmy tilted his head to the side with amusement. He brought out the green book that Rosa noticed earlier. This is called a journal. When you learn to write, start with... What is it? Something you can use to remember yourself when you've forgotten. Does it work? It used to. Nowadays, not anymore. Oh? The act itself is the only thing I remember. Now, let's start with your vowels. Holy! Okay. A scream pierced the halls of the chateau. Oops, sorry. It was Catherine. Gilmy sprinted to the door with Rosa not far behind. Back in the piano room, Catherine took a shaky step toward her sister. She wasn't moving at all. Oh my gosh! Blood dotted the ivory keys. I didn't... It was an accident. Emily? It was a nasty fall. Emily? Catherine saw the way her sister's head snapped back as it collided with the sharp corner of the keys, as of the piano. She watched it all like a series of photographs in her head. Oh, is this the start of her descent? Oh, oh. Real quick before we continue, I love this look on her face. Like, this really looks like an in shock, traumatized, like what just happened type of face. Like, I think that's, like, it's perfectly captured in this piece right here. Anyway, moving on. She had to check on her, right? She had to touch her and shake her awake, make sure she was okay. But her feet refused to move. Instead, she retreated into a corner. She didn't even notice her legs were moving until her forehead touched the wall. She didn't want to turn around. Ooh, yeah. I can't believe she just killed her sister. Her sister laid on the floor, her eyes open, unblinking. It was an accident. It was nothing but an accident. Was it? She pushed first. She got really scary. Oh, wait, what? She strangled me. These aren't options, right? Okay, these are continued. Gotcha. What? That's absurd. Are you sure? Would she do that? I don't know. I think she did. Catherine touched her throat. It felt fine. That period, girl. Emily, is it? She really believes just because the Marquis took her in that he's invested in her. Well, she's obsessed with the master. The apple didn't fall far from the tree. Wasn't her mother a bit, not right in the head? It probably runs in the family. Emily had looked mad. Her eyes had burned with malice for her as she had closed her fingers around Catherine's neck. But she couldn't remember if that had really happened. Sister was always kind to her. She would never hurt her, even though they got into fights. Sister loved her. Am I turning mad? Probably. I have the blood of a mad woman. I never understood. Okay. Am I going to end up like her? Okay, pause real quick. I never understood that. I mean, I get it, but, like, I feel like psychopathy or madness, quote unquote, isn't really entirely genetic. To be honest, like I mean, I know they say it is. Some things they say is genetic, and it doesn't make sense. Like cancer, they say that like if you have a history of like cancer, that like you're gonna get cancer more likely. And I don't think that makes any sense because I've actually studied cancer, like the root of cancer and how cancer happens. And it's because a little science lesson, if you don't know. Your cells live and die, right? Cancer cells, however, just skipped the dying process, but they were supposed to die. So they're kind of like zombie cells. And they just keep reproducing instead of dying. They keep just making more, and that's what cancer cells are. But that could happen anywhere on your body. That's why there's so many different cancers, and it could happen to anyone. Like, I don't think we should be scaring people with, oh, your family has a history of this type of cancer, well, you're probably gonna get it. That doesn't make any sense! Like, it actually doesn't make any sense. And you can argue with me all you like, but unless you have, like, the most solid argument, I'm not gonna believe you, so. Moving on. I think that's, like, the same thing with, like, mental disorders. Because they do say, like, quote unquote, like, it's genetic, but I also feel like certain mental disorders, actually, a lot of mental disorders, they develop because of certain traumas, either self inflicted or externally inflicted. And I don't like that belief of, like, oh, well, her mother was crazy. She's gonna be crazy. Which is, I mean, nobody's telling her that, but she's telling herself that. It's like, my mom was kind of crazy. Am I kind of crazy now? Am I gonna end up the way that she was? Which I think is very sad. But moving on. I only told her the truth. Gilamy doesn't care for her. And she doesn't even care for him that much either. It was all just chaff, the relationship. No sense making everyone else miserable, too. But she called me jealous and I'm not gonna say that. She has never called me. I was spoiled, she said. Sister had to start work so young, but I got to laze around and play piano all day. She said they have decided to send me away. My lessons sent home. The piano replaced. It was for my own good, she said. I don't have to travel here all the time. I can concentrate on my other endeavors. I can make new friends. But I know she just doesn't want me near the chateau or Gilamy. She hates it when I catch her with him. Perhaps this morning was the last straw. She hates it. She also smirks at me when I see them. Like she basks in it. I think I might hate her. Catherine's thoughts ran through her head like a storm. They poured out of her aimlessly. I wonder if the piano is broken. Am I going to pay for it? What will become of us without Sister's wages? What of Father's medicine? What of my dreams? Sister can't be dead. Sister can't be dead. Catherine brought her fingers to her lips and nibbled on her thumb. She didn't notice this. Her mind was preoccupied. She cowered in the corner of the wall, biting her fingers. It was a tiny comfort in the rapidly collapsing world. Hoo! Gilamy opened the door and found Emily lying on the floor. An ugly gash broke the skin of her forehead. Facing the wall was Catherine, shivering like a leaf and viciously devouring one of her fingernails. He approached her cautiously. Catherine? Rosa let out a gasp at the grisly scene. Emily's lifeless eyes stared up at nothing, while Catherine pressed herself into a corner. What had happened after she left? Rosa, will you call for help, please? See that someone checks on Emily. Emily's gone, my dude. You have to know that. Rosa did as she was told, her eyes on a broken, shaking Catherine. She wished she could comfort her friend herself. Gilmy took a step towards Catherine. He called out her name slowly, coaxingly. Catherine turned her head, her thumb still on her lower lip. The flesh was torn, and a smidge of scarlet painted her teeth. It was an accident, I swear. Of course it was, Catherine. Of course it was. She pushed me first. She wanted me sent away. She wanted me gone. You can tell me, whoops, pull back a little bit. You can tell me about it later. Let me take you away from this room. Oh, what have I done? Catherine fell to her knees and wept. Large sobs sucked the air out of her lungs. She felt like drowning, trying to keep herself afloat in between sobs. Every exhale was a squeezing pain in her chest. Gilmy's arms wrapped around her. What have I done? What have I done? You didn't do anything, dear. This is not your fault. There was a bitter bulge building up in her throat, and she felt that no amount of crying could push it back down. What am I going to do? Father is... Sister... I'm so scared. Gilmy's arms wound tighter around her, and she clutched onto his arms in this vast sea of fear. You don't have to be. I will always be by your side. Catherine, I will take care of you and your father, all right? You don't have to worry about your future. Her tears soaked his shirt through, but the squeezing in her chest felt less painful. Oh, why? Why do you do this? Why do you care so much for me? Gilmy's brows furrowed, as if confused that she even asked. I just do. It was a boldly stated fact, as if painfully obvious, as if Catherine was a fool for not knowing it. It made Catherine's heart expand in her ribs. When she looked back, she would recall this as the moment she fell in love with him. Of course. This is where it is. Over her dead sister's body is when she... Okay. The look in his eyes was reassuring and strong. She wasn't alone. She was going to be all right. Let's get you away from here. He supported her arms and stood her up, careful to block the view of her sister from her eyes. He led her to the door. Catherine hated how fast her relief came. She was still drenched in sorrow at her sister's death. Her father would not take well to the news, especially in his health. But she was all right, and she hated it. Rosa was with her. She didn't have time. She didn't have to leave her piano. Her dreams. Him. Nothing had to change. And most importantly, she hated the voice that came whispering in her head over and over again. Thank goodness she's dead. Thank goodness. Hoi! Oh, it's not over. The first candle is lit. This candle is storage. The love for familiars. The cleanest love. Rosa stared at the blue candle glowing in her hand as she chanted her spell. What is happening? Trust is the veil that conceals and deceives. Trick his eyes and his heart with the warmth from this candle's flame. A bond of blood like kin will be forged. Weave this trust so his tongue will yield to what is sought. I'm sorry, what is happening? Ah. Rosa stood by Catherine's tomb, nursing memories of her. Okay, so what is happening is we're jumping around. Okay. I mean, I guess. Not my preferred method of storytelling, but I guess it's okay enough for me to follow. So Rosa just, what did she do? She casted a spell, right? Looked like some sort of enchantment spell, or sounded like some sort of enchantment spell, but I don't understand why, or what's the purpose, which is the exact, which is a similar reason to why. Anyway, moving on. Rosa stood by Catherine's tomb, nursing memories of her. Oh, the soft wind lightly blew her hair. It reminded her of Catherine and her playful ways. Tears sprouted from her eye. Even the wind. You should console her. We're going for soft mother, okay? I mean, who knows what she's still gonna say, but... Sorry, I keep hitting my mic. My mouse is like right underneath it, so... I am always here. Oh, I am always here, my love. Loss will always hurt. But you love mother the best, don't you? Yes, mother. Then you are going to be fine. I will never leave you like Catherine did. Because I'm already dead. Rosa. Gilmy is... Oh, is he actually wearing something different? I mean, I know, like, these are little drawings, but, like... Could change up their outfits every now and again. Like, Rosa. You know, she's wearing something different. Anyways. Gilmy's soft voice came from behind. Rosa glanced at him in acknowledgement. He stood quietly beside her for a few moments, but ventured to speak. Have you thought about my offer? My house is always open for you. Remember that. Dogs just started barking, and I really hope you can't hear them, but they are loud, so you probably can. I'm sorry for my outburst back then. It's nothing. The wind played around her feet, and Rosa pictured Catherine as part of the breeze, playful and free. She was free from the pain and confusion that had plagued her in her last days. They stood beside each other in solemn reverence. Finally, Rosa broke the silence. She was my family. I was in pain before she came along. I didn't know any better. She gave me hope. She was bright, like a flame. When I closed my eyes, I can still see the imprint of her light in the darkness. I can feel her warmth. A star. I didn't speak again for some time. Gillamy cleared his throat. I was an orphan too, much like you. I know what it feels like to lose too much. I wandered for a long time before I found anywhere to live, anything to live for. Were you alone? Sometimes. Always. Rosa nodded. Did you have family? Gilmy shifted uncomfortably. No, I never knew them. Much of my memory of it is blurred. I was taken in by kind people once before, but... Gilmy sighed, and Rosa observed a certain disquiet in him. I didn't belong. But you have no difficulty mingling with people. That's more necessity than preference. But either way, it was quite troublesome. It can be quite troublesome after a while. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I am making the mood worse. I'm sorry. I don't mind. Gillamy had never opened up to her about his past before, and it worried Rosa how little she actually knew about him. Anyway, would you like to go around town? I'd very much like to take you someplace more cheery. How about our favorite spot? Gillamy smiled with understanding. The pair traveled up a hill at the edge of town. There was a view overlooked the quiet. The view overlooked the quaint village. The sunset painted everything in pink. Oh, sorry about that. In the pink glow of dust, of endings. It was always so beautiful here. They used to spend time in this grassy knoll, the three of them. It was their own little hideaway. Memories of the past crept up on every corner. The ghost of laughter echoed in the wind. Rosa touched the trunk of the small tree they had carved their names on. So many fond memories. Rosa, I want you to have this. Gillamy took Rosa's hand and placed an item in her palm. It was a simple silver locket. She looked up at him questioningly. I have had this for as long as I can remember. One of my remembrances of the past. I can't take this. You must. You need it more than I do. But it's old, and the locket doesn't even open anymore. I don't know why I've held on to it for so long. I can't even remember how I came to have it. But it comforts me. Maybe it will have the same effect for you. This is your treasure, Gillamy. It feels wrong to take it. On the contrary, I believe you must have it. I'm not good with expressing sorrow, or even giving comfort. Is he socio? Interesting. It might be. Not socio. Psycho? Psychos can blend into society, right? Socios are the ones that have a hard time. Sorry, that was off track. But I want to do something. At least, for you. He closed his hand over hers, affirming the gift. It's yours. Please take it. You are wrong if you think I am letting you stay in the manor simply for Catherine's sake. I do it of my own accord. Let me do this for you, Rosa. We've been friends for quite a while. If you need to leave, at least stay until you feel ready to go. So how much time has passed? Because Catherine did look like an adult at that point. Catherine was 16. I want to say about maybe 3 years have passed. Since chapter said memory, I guess. Alright. But I will continue working in your household for my lodging. You don't have to do that. I can raise your status to a lady. You can read and write now, and very well. I'm saying a few years at least then, definitely. I'm sure you'll be more comfortable in a higher position. I have no need for a higher position. Just free access to your library. You've come a long way from the shy girl back then, Rosa. Watching you grow has been a pleasure. Yes, the library is yours. They were quiet for a while, only conversing through looks, smiles, and tiny sighs. Rosa realized that she had been holding on to Gillamy's hand all that time. She broke off from his hold, rather embarrassed. We should head back. You're right. It's getting quite late. Gilmy walked over to the carriage to get it ready. Excellent, child. Being a maid in his household will give you free access to the rooms. He trusts you completely. It seems that the candle worked. Okay. So, she was casting, I think, I don't remember the exact words. Maybe at the end of this video, I'll go back over what she said. But I'm pretty sure it was like some sort of enchantment where she kind of like I don't know how to explain it, but she wanted him to like trust her, right? So she could get to the bottom of what the heck was going on with the needles specifically. So I think the candle was more like an enchantment to like be enchanted by me, be more like allured to me, be more trusting to me, of me. Well, she's probably gonna feel bad about later. Not gonna lie, she's probably gonna feel bad about it later. But if she doesn't, that's even more interesting. Let's continue. I guess so. Looks like she's feeling bad about it already. Rosa looked at the silver necklace in her hand. I feel like you should try opening it. He said it doesn't open, but I would probably try opening it. Open that locket. Oh, that's a little aggressive. It is his possession. I want to use whatever means necessary to bring him down. Rosa fiddled with it, trying to open the lock. She fussed with the pendant for a while, but like Gilmy said, it was stuck. I'll try again later, Mother. I'm rather curious about it myself. The spell will start its effect in stages, gradually uncovering his true face. Fondness first, then trust, familiarity. Rosa sighed. But was the spell necessary at all? Didn't she already have that with Gilmy? Rosa bit her lip, remembering the warmth of his hand. They had known each other for a long time. It was rather comforting to have someone to mourn with. However, Rosa did find it strange that Gilmy rarely even mentioned Catherine anymore. It was as if he was shedding her off like skin. I mean, are you that surprised? He was kind of in this weird relationship affair with her sister, and then she killed her sister, and then he had maybe a romantic relationship with her. Like, come on, like that was already a little sus. Again, the taste of blood in her throat resurfaced. Please don't spit up needles, that's so nasty. Okay. The memory of the needles made her stomach lurch. I guess they didn't really, like, cut up her throat. I mean, if you swallow needles, like, that'll damage your throat and you can't talk well. How long has it been? It hasn't been that. It can't have been long enough for her to heal from that. So, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that's just, like, a little plot hole or something. Since her friend had died, the Marquis had begun spending all his hours locked in his office. He rarely showed himself socially, rarely even attended meals. But they were casting a powerful spell, something that might harm Gilmy. What if he was, after all, innocent? She had years of good memories with him. What was she even expecting to find? Exactly how could she live with the guilt of two dead friends? Rosa sighed. She cared for him. Despite all the suspicions, she knew that much. But Mother was adamant. 3 candles for 3 loves. What does that mean? A fitting curse for a man who frolics in love's domain. I'm confused. Okay, so I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what she's talking about here, which is that, like, he's, like, a playboy or whatever. Storge, the love for familiars. Philia, the love for friends. And Eros, the love for lust. Open his heart with Storge. Unmask him with Philia. Strike him down with Eros. I mean, I'm not quite following, but I'm interested. Oh! Yet Rosa kept a fourth candle. One she had named Agape. Unconditional love. Oh, this is from the Romans, right? These words, these ideas, I think. Maybe. Or is it Greek? They're really similar, so, I mean, can't fault me for thinking it was one over the other. Oh, snap, I was paying attention. My bad. Oh, I wish I could go back. I don't know what it said, but Mother, of course, would object. But just in case Eros successfully struck Gillamy, she wished to light Agape. At least, give him peace before. Rosa walked toward Gillamy, a pang of anxiousness biting at her. She gonna kill him? Like, actually? Oy. Rise, my daughter. The work lays ahead. To bring him down, we must find his weakness. Then we attack. His due punishment will be swift, my dear daughter. Do it for Mother. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and stop there. Oh wait, no, we're stopping there. Did I save it? Ah, snap. The second candle's lit. Its name is Philia. Hold on, wait, I'm trying to save it. Save. There we go. There we go. We'll just save it here. Okay. How do we go back? Oh, main menu. Okay, just real quick. What was chapter 3 called? How do I find it? Chapter select. It was called Portraits Candlelit. We're only 7% complete. Oh snap, there are 4 endings. Wait, how are we only 7% complete? If we're on chapter 4, it looks like there's 8 chapters and 4 endings. That is interesting. Oh, these are the pictures that we've gathered. Okay, why would we want to keep this? Why does it look like this, but then it looks like this when I open it? Anyway, I am very, very interested in where this is going. I mean, like, how are we only 7%? See, she looks so young here, right? She's gotta be like maybe I thought she was 13 here. And then this is, yeah, Rose. She looked young too, right? Her hair has grown since. Oh yeah, let's not look at that one again. See, her hair is longer here. Oh, I think it's longer. Yeah, her hair is definitely longer. Because this is the back of her hair. I mean, this thing's white, so you can't really see it. But this is the back of her hair. She's like, so it's been like, what? It's got to be a few years, right? But before we reach here? Because her hair is like hella long. Oh, we missed one. That's interesting. How did we miss one? Is it? Oh, this was probably the these two right here are probably the retribution route, maybe. See, look at all these pictures that we're supposed to like unlock. I'm excited for the Oh, wait, these are... Oh, wait, maybe we shouldn't be here yet. My bad. Oh, wait, how do I get out of here? Whoops. Okay, I guess we're just gonna live through this. This is Amy speaking, by the way. I hope you're enjoying the game. This content is locked at the moment. Check back again after you've unlocked all the endings. Good luck. Okay, so I can't see this until it's over. Got it. Well, that's interesting. I'm excited. So there are technically only 8, like, chapters, but there are 4 different endings. That's very interesting. I don't know who this girl is. This looks like, she's a much mature version of... I like her dress from what I can see of it. It doesn't fit her well, though. It doesn't look like... Anyway, what's her name? Rosa. And then I guess this is Gilamy. I mean, the mask makes sense. Is this also Rosa? No, her hair's brown, right? I mean, who could this be? All the other girls are dead already. Oh, there's like a shadow of somebody, or not a shadow, but an outline of somebody here too. That's very, very fascinating. Anyway, if you've made it this far, I thank you for your patience. I hope you enjoyed Cupid, a visual novel, chapters 1 and 2. And I will catch you for chapter 4, which I'm kind of on a roll, so I'll probably actually record it soon. So that'll be up for you whenever I edit it. Anyway, that is all for now, and I thank you for your time.